Hello and welcome to today's Fairygodboss live webinar. We are very excited to have all of you join us for this really interesting conversation. I'm going to give everyone a few minutes to connect and settle in before we fully kick off. And while we're waiting, we'd love to know where everyone is tuning in from today. So you'll see on the right side of your screen, there's a chat box. So if you feel comfortable doing so, please send a message in the chat saying, hey, and where you're tuning in from. I'll introduce myself. I'm Eloise Aone, a leadership coach with Fairygodboss, and I'll be moderating today's conversation. I am currently in New York City, and let's see where everyone is tuning in from. I don't see anyone sharing yet, but we'll check in a few minutes and see. For those of you who don't know, Fairygodboss is the largest online career community for women. Millions of women visit Fairygodboss for career connections, jobs, coaching, community advice, hard to find intel about how companies treat women, and then, of course, virtual events like this one. And before we get started, there are two things I'd like to say. The first is this session is going to be recorded and shared via email with everyone who registered for this event today. And during the discussion, we would love to hear from all of you. So please use that same stage chat on the right for messages and comments, questions, and the Q&A tab specifically if you have questions for the panelists that you'd like for them to answer. And we're going to get to as many as we can today. And now I am so excited to officially kick off today's event, Your Next Chapter, Building a Career That Aligns with Who You've Become, sponsored by Renaissance Learning. And I'm thrilled to be joined by three leaders at Renaissance. We have Katie Parson, Sasha Behm, and Heidi Lund. I'd love to give each of you a minute to introduce yourselves. We'd love to hear what's going on for you in your life personally and professionally, and what you do in your role today at Renaissance. So, Katie, will you take us away?
Yes, thank you so much, Eloise. It's really great to be here. And thank you so much to our audience for taking your valuable time to be with us. We know it means a lot. So I am Katie Parson. I am a VP of Practice and Instruction at Renaissance. And what that actually means is that I lead a team of managers and sales professionals who sell supplemental software solutions in the K through 12 education market. This is a new sales vertical that Renaissance stood up in 2025. So it's been a really exciting year in terms of establishing this new team, getting systems in place, and building a culture. On the personal front, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, although I came via New York City. I live here with my husband and my two young daughters, who I lovingly refer to as the Blonde Mafia. I love to do yoga, I love to ski and travel. In fact, this Thanksgiving, my family traded turkey for sushi and we visited Japan over the holiday. So I'm still a little bit jet lagged, but I am caffeinated, I am present, and I am very excited for today's discussion.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie. Thank you. Sasha, how about you?
Hi, my name is Sasha Behm. I am an account manager for the mid-market accounts here at Renaissance. What that means is that I work with districts in Alabama and in Florida. I help support them with their needs to see every single one of their students. I'm a former classroom teacher, so I know exactly what is needed specifically with that. I am from Miami, Florida, so I'm a 305 girl forever and ever, but I just recently moved to St. Petersburg, where I recently bought my first home. So I'm really excited. And I live with my kitty cat Nugget, who I rescued at a McDonald's on my way back from a conference when I was in Alabama. Rescued him from a car engine. He's adorable. He may or may not make a special appearance. I love yoga as well, just as Katie. I've been practicing yoga for over 10 years. I'm also a certified yoga instructor and most recently became a strength training buff. So now I'm in my fit era. I'm running. I am lifting weights, which I never thought I would do. I used to have spaghetti arms, so now I'm getting some biceps, and I'm just really excited to be here with all of you.
Thank you, Sasha. That's great. Heidi, how about you?
Well, talk about some hard acts to follow.
Seriously.
I'm Heidi Lund. I'm a senior product manager here at Renaissance. And I have been with the company for 7 years. I'm located in the Twin Cities in Minnesota, hence the sweater. We've got the snow. We're rocking the cold. We're living our best lives up here. Product manager means that I manage the life cycle and the launch and definition for all of our assessment products, is the side of the house that I'm on. And within that, supporting customers using all of our products, and making sure that they're serving them well. Outside of work, I spend a lot of time with my 2 boys and my husband. You can see they've helped me decorate my walls. They are my why, and I'm absolutely thrilled to be here with all of you today.
Thank you, all of you. I love these intros, love hearing about both what you do and what makes you jive outside of work. Thank you for sharing. Briefly, before we jump into some questions, I just want to remind everyone who I see is here from Montana, Florida, Boulder, Florida, Wisconsin, Southern Delaware, Florida again, California, Detroit, Ohio, from all over the country. So thank you for joining us. Please write your questions in the Q&A tab if you have them for our panel today. Don't forget to do that. We'll be checking that Q&A tab on the right side of your screen and pulling some questions, as many as we can get to today. So don't forget to ask those questions there. So I'd like to start by taking a wide angle view, because at the core of today's topic really is who we are as individuals. And each of you is so different, which is so wonderful, because we're going to have a rich discussion about each of your paths. I'm really curious to know how your personal values or priorities have shifted throughout your career, and how that really influenced the kind of work that you sought out next in your journey. Katie, can we start with you on this one and hear a little bit about that?
Yes, thank you, Eloise. So I want to break down the question a bit because my values have not shifted throughout my career. They have stayed anchored, and my priorities have shifted around them. To use a metaphor, your values are the sun, and they're at the center of your solar system. They are the gravitational pull that your priorities revolve around. And this point is important because it demonstrates how you first need to identify and refine your personal core values. And these are not things like family, which is important and everyone values in one way or another, or bravery, cue the poster of a lion in the background. Values are much more specific in nature, and there are no more than 2 or 3 of them. There are several ways to do this to define your core values, which we don't have time to get into today. So once you clarify those important principles, your core values become decision-making tools to help determine priorities throughout your different life and different career stages. For example, work-life balance is a core value of mine, as is autonomy. So my priorities shifted at my prior company when both of these core values were violated. After an acquisition, my company started operating on Eastern time and often British time, since it was based in London, and being on the west coast of the United States, living in the Pacific time zone, I was no longer able to exercise in the morning or see my children. So right there, my work-life balance was being eroded. In addition, I was under a new manager whose philosophy around how a team should operate was very different than mine. In the common vernacular, this person was a micromanager, all but destroying my autonomy. So 2 of my core values, work-life balance and autonomy, again, were violated. So it was very clear to me that my priority was to seek a new role because my job was no longer in alignment with those values. So to conclude on this question, your highest loyalty really should belong to principles, not people. I was fiercely loyal to my team that I managed. I love the company where I worked, but my principles overruled that. And that really gave me conviction in deciding to leave that job. I think the action that you can take here is really to determine and refine your core values so you're armed with those decision-making tools to guide your priorities in your next role.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So that solid understanding of who you are dictates the choices that you make. Yeah, yeah. Heidi, what would you like to add to that or share your perspective on this question?
I promise you that Katie and I did not practice our similar answers prior to this, but I truly have a very similar response, which is that I feel that my core values have stayed consistent as well. I've not gone through a significant change, and I would list them as being valuing being a learner and being in a culture that is embracing being a learner, meaning that I can show up and not be the smartest person in the room, and that's okay. That I can leverage other folks' intelligence, expertise, their SME-ness, if you will, and help listen authentically to everyone in the room and try to find the common thread within the projects that we're working on, the mission that we share, and trying to make sure that we're doing the right thing. And that dovetails with my other key value, which is showing up authentically. Because I think when we can all be learners and we can all show up authentically, we come to the table in a space that feels safe. We embrace psychological safety together. And as you can see by my background, right? Again, I'll point to that. I'm showing up authentically every day. That doesn't mean it's not professional, but it does mean that I'm able to share pieces or parts of, whether it's my personal life or other parts of my professional day. And once we trust each other and we build that relationship together, I really think we make better decisions. And that has stayed consistent with me in my career.
Yeah, thank you. So what I'm hearing from the two of you, and I love that you have a similar approach here, right? Because it means that it works for the two of you. It probably works for many people who are tuning in and listening, which is just having that self-knowledge and understanding what's important to us allows us to make decisions about our career and the path that we take. So I'm curious, it's not always easy to know who we are and to take the time to reflect on what is important to us, especially when there's so many distractions and so many options in front of us that we could pursue. I'm curious what kinds of self reflection tools or frameworks have actually helped you understand who you actually were versus who you are then becoming as a result of of that knowledge, insofar as it relates to your career. Heidi, do you want to add to that?
Sure. Here at Renaissance, actually, when I was first hired, we were using a tool called the Hogan assessment. That tool has also been leveraged. We have an additional tool that's also been leveraged that is called the predictive index. We are using this tool, organically as folks would like to continue to take the predictive index. We can take it as often as we want. The Hogan assessment was used prior to hiring individuals, and that inventory, if you will, either of those are great options to be able to have honest conversations with yourself or leaders or mentors or mentees. So we're actually using the predictive index quite often internally. We have internal mentorship programs. I've signed up as a mentor or a mentee, and being able to have something on paper as a touchstone for conversations about strengths and opportunities for growth is really powerful because you can return to that. And it's a reminder of, what you want to be discussing, where you want to be growing, and what strengths you want to be leveraging. So that's a really nice piece of longevity that you could actually access data-wise, right? If you continue to take it over and over again, and you can see where you've stayed consistent or where you've maybe changed.
I love that. And what you're saying too is that it's not just for yourself, but in your self-knowledge, but being able to talk about it and have the vocabulary to share it with others helps you strengthen that and actually helps you make decisions within your organization to make progress. Yeah, I love that. Uh, let's zoom out now. I'd love to hear from each of you on this one. Would you share a time where you realized it was time to make a significant career pivot? What was that moment for you, and what helped you recognize that you needed to take that leap? Because it's often scary and a little difficult in those moments. Some perhaps not, but it can be. Katie, can we start with you on this one?
We can, or could I toss the baton over to Sasha? Because I think it'd be great. I just know her story, and I think it would be a great way to kick off this question.
Let's do it. Sasha, take it away.
Thank you, Katie. I appreciate it. I am classroom to corporate. I was a classroom teacher. I was very fortunate and very lucky. I had wonderful students. I was a gifted and talented teacher for a dual language program in Broward County Public Schools. Throughout my career, I constantly wanted to learn and grow and thought about leadership when it came to my career in education. I always knew I wanted to do some type of leadership. I moved through, I did curriculum writing, I became a department chair. I helped write a $1.8 million grant for my school when I transitioned into middle school. I became an instructional technology coach. I helped support our teachers during the pandemic, which was the most uncertain time in education ever. But I had an insane amount of professional learning hours, and I always wanted to continue to grow. So the natural transition for me was, what now? While I was doing the instructional technology coach, I was working alongside of leadership, and I wasn't really necessarily fulfilled. I loved working with my colleagues, but what was it specifically that I could do? How can I help and support more teachers, more students, more districts? And that's when I decided I'm just going to, throw my hat in the ring and put myself out there. And I applied for educational technology positions, where I was really grateful because of my bilingualism and my dual language background. I was able to help and support 3 of the largest districts in the country, and also the Department of Education of Puerto Rico.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Heidi?
Oh, there we go. I started my career in an editorial type of space and background. So I had a proverbial red pen in my hand for the early years of my career, literally and figuratively, right? And I started to feel myself burn out in that mindset. I just felt um, exhausted. I felt like I didn't have the energy or the passion around that, and I was starting to look therefore elsewhere, at what other opportunities I might be able to leverage my skills and make a pivot. I had actually originally intended to teach when I was in college, so this transition over to the publishing and editing space, I still felt like I was connected to that within um, a curriculum background and an assessment background, but I wanted to continue to push into curriculum and assessment, and started networking, talking to others, started looking at product management as a result of that. So for me, my big key was that I truly was starting to feel that those burnout feelings and those low energy feelings, and just needing to take my passion and pivot it towards something else.
Yeah, so very different, the two of you, right? One, very different situations, but both leading to the need for change. Yeah, yeah. Katie, how about you?
Sure, I will start with quick background to provide context for this answer. Before Renaissance, before EdTech, I came from the fintech industry, where I worked for 20 years, learned so much, and am grateful for the incredible experience and opportunity that provided. I knew it was time to make a significant career pivot when, as a manager, as a leader of people, I could not connect the company's mission to the everyday work of my team. My previous company's mission was built around driving global financial stability and empowering economies. That is a valid, bold mission, and one I struggled to translate to specific direction and priorities. This is where I realized I needed to take a leap and pivot my career, because I know as a people leader that alignment to mission and values truly is critical for motivating a team and driving high performance. So the change that I sought was a company with a mission that resonated with its employees, with me personally, and that I could connect to the goals I needed to set for my team. Well, ask and you shall receive. Renaissance hits my radar with its mission to accelerate learning. And that is a mission I can easily connect to and use to align the daily activities, the weekly goals, and then up toward our monthly and quarterly priorities for my team. An example of this is when we're setting a goal to meet with a certain number of customers in a given week or open a specific volume of new sales opportunities in a month, it goes back to accelerating learning. And that can be accelerating learning in a certain geography, a district, or even down to a specific school or classroom where we are seeing student growth goals met by using our products. So it was really that alignment to mission to daily activities and how it is clear at Renaissance and it was not in my prior role. So I would say the takeaway here is that when there's a blocker that is truly outside of your control, like changing a company's mission statement, which I was not going to do, it's an indication that it may be time for a career pivot.
Yeah. I love just how different each of your backgrounds are, and it's a testament to your organization to see value in different career paths that can be brought to your organization. And we're going to get into that a little bit more in a few minutes. But I just love seeing that, and that a career pivot can be driven by so many different circumstances, by longing for something, by a need for change, by a misalignment. And they all can propel you into something that's way more exciting and aligned and joyful in your day to day, which I just love hearing about. So thank you. Um, Knowing what you want is one thing, right? Doing that work, being aligned with who you are, having, as we talked about, knowing what you want, but then making it clear to others during a pivot is a whole other thing, right? And we have a question in the chat even about this, right? About how do you actually put that in a resume? How do you showcase your skill sets to other people so that pivot can happen? So my question here, and Heidi, I'd love to start with you on this one. How can professionals translate their existing strengths and experience into a whole new industry or a whole new role that feels more aligned? How can they be successful in translating that information?
Well, I'm sure folks joining today would appreciate some actionable steps that they can take. And so I know we've already talked about the predictive index, the Hogan assessment. There are other tools like StrengthsFinder, or actually several AI tools that, of course, have emerged in the last couple of years that either have free trials or pretty minor dollars in terms of subscriptions, right? Or 30 days, those types of things that I've been either dabbling with, subscribing to, et cetera, to help take inventory, even if it's not a corporate provided assessment, right? There are things that you can go out and find on your own that can help you with this. And there are specifically tools that can also take those strengths and turn them into job recommendations or job title or industry recommendations. Woe are we who grew up 10, 20, 30 years ago and, all sat in classrooms in high school and wondered what we were going to be when we grew up besides an astronaut or a firefighter, right? I think we are living in an incredibly leverageable time where these types of tools are at our fingertips. I've only named two, right? I'm sure there are so many more out there. And I just encourage folks to go try a few and pick one that feels authentic to you and that meets the need of you looking to align better to a type of role or an industry that feels more authentic to you.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And Sasha, I'd love to hear from you on this as well. You moved from education into Renaissance. It's such a big change as far as structure and culture and all of that. So, what are your tips and ideas here for our audience today?
I mean, honestly, the first thing I'm going to say is focus on the skills that you do have and not the skills that you don't have. Being a classroom teacher, I felt that in a sense I was pigeonholed specifically into a certain type of role. But classroom teachers are the be all end all. You are the CEO of your classroom. You are the data lead of your classroom. You are working alongside all of your colleagues, your teammates, your administrators. You are going to market strategies with how you can help and support your students. There are so many transferable skills within education that can be put into any type of role. So really leaning into those specifically, speaking to your mentors, speaking to other friends that you have that are within other roles that you are interested in. I was a natural project manager just because I was in the classroom. So really leaning into that and, thinking outside of the box. What can I do? And not what can't I do, but what can I do?
Mm-hmm. And what I'm also hearing you say is take a step back and look at all the things that you're actually doing and use the right vocabulary that can be transferable, right? So it's calling the different things that you're doing today by a slightly larger or broader name, right? Which, Heidi, to your point, you can help, like those tools can help you do that so that you are rewriting the story of what you're currently doing in a way that feels recognizable to a different industry if you're already doing it, right? Especially if you already have those skill sets down, right?
Absolutely. And also lean into those tools as well. I was a computer science teacher, so I'm all for AI.
Yeah, yeah. I would love to bring in, we have questions in the chat linked to this. So I'd love to pull one in and hear your thoughts on it. Desiree says, how can we make our resume reflect that we want to change career paths as well as show our experience? I'm finding it hard to get people to take my change seriously after 30 years in logistics. Who has some thoughts here? The key thing here is not just reflect the change, but reflect that there's really a desire to make that change, that they're going to thrive in that new environment. Does any of you have some tips here or ideas to share with Desiree?
I think what you were already saying, Eloise, about there are different pieces of terminology, right, that might be more common or commonly used or referenced in one industry versus another. And there are truly those transferable skills that maybe just have a different lens or have a different label, but a rose by any other name is still as sweet, right? And so trying to learn even as an outsider, it might be challenging, but trying to learn some of that vernacular of the industry you're trying to enter into can be a really great way to show that you can walk the walk and talk the talk, right? And that you understand. Now, trying to do that is definitely going to be a challenge, but what I would recommend is trying to find some networking opportunities to get to have informational interviews with folks who are in the industry you're looking to get into. Start to ask them the questions of how might these experiences or these strengths translate into your industry? How might I write to that? How might I convince someone who has a role like you do in your industry that I'm serious, right? Exactly what you said. And also that these are transferable skills.
Mhm.
And I also just would want to say, you're not the only one, right? There are so many folks who do change tracks within their career. And often you'll find someone who's willing to help someone out because they've been there, right? They've done it. So it can seem really daunting to kind of cold message someone on LinkedIn, but I promise you that there are kind, helpful folks out there who want to help. I'm one of them. I've done it before, right? I've answered random LinkedIn messages from folks, all in the name of trying to make sure that we're all helping each other out because it is hard and it's daunting. So best wishes
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah, and I love that you bring that up, right? That on LinkedIn, what I would say is read those profiles, see who has made a pivot, and reach out to someone like Heidi who's like and say, "Hey, I noticed that you made a pivot from this industry to this industry. I'm trying to do the same. Can I talk to you?" Right? There's so many people out there, women out there who have done this. I'd love that advice, Heidi. Yeah, yeah. My next question for all of you, is the following. We've talked about career transitions can be uncertain and they can be uncomfortable. That's exactly what we were just talking about, right? What's the vocabulary? How do I convince people? How do I even know what I want, especially coming out from burnout, right? Like you were saying, Heidi. I'm curious, and Sasha, perhaps you can kick us off with this one. What strategies or mindsets have helped you stay grounded during these moments when there is that uncertainty and that unknown that you're entering into?
One of my favorite movies is Galaxy Quest. If you're a fan, you'll probably know this quote: never give up, never surrender. Persevere, continue moving forward. You'll likely hear a lot of no's before you actually will hear that yes, but do not let that deter you. Continue moving forward. Reach out to those who have been your mentors. Lean into those glows and those grows that you have received throughout your career. Also, focus on what centers you. For me, it's mindfulness and yoga, doing something that I love, spending time with my family, having that reassurance from those loved ones can really help and support you as you're propelling yourself into this new chapter of your life. It was very scary for me to move from, you know, the school system into corporate, and how was I going to manage this new role? Was I going to be successful? And I am quite proud of myself because it's already been 3 years of this transition, and I continue moving forward throughout my career from an implementation specialist, schools manager, to a customer success manager, to an account manager. And I'm just so grateful for this opportunity, and just don't give up. That's all I can say.
Yeah, yeah. That next job is out there. You just need to find it, right? You have to keep fishing. Yeah, yeah. Katie, I'd love to hear from you on this as well.
Sure. Thanks, Sasha, and thanks, Eloise. I want to start with a viewpoint on career transitions. If you look at a job, it's made up of an industry and a role, and you typically are only going to change one of those at a time. So that should help ground you. So, for example, you were Sasha, you were an accomplished, decorated teacher, and you come to Renaissance to sell edtech software. You are certainly changing roles from teacher to sales professional, but you are essentially staying in the same industry. You're still in education. So you know the players, you know the lexicon, you know the rhythm, and you can use your experience to build credibility. For me, I changed industries. So moving from fintech to edtech, but not roles. I went from managing a sales team to managing a bigger sales team in a different industry. So I really focused on the role specific experience and knowledge that I could parlay into a leadership role at a bigger scale. And that's how I came in with credibility, which is very different than how Sasha did, or how someone who is moving roles in an industry in the same industry did. When I came to EdTech, I didn't know the players. I did not have the right lingo. I did not understand the buying cycle yet, but I did have the managerial skills and the leadership experience to successfully make the transition. So I think to wrap up on this, as the audience is looking for how to be grounded in this experience, I do want to share some advice I received from a mentor of mine who really helped me stay grounded when I knew I was going to leave my previous employer, but was not sure where. She said to me, Katie, you know much more than you realize. Focus on what you have learned and the skills you have that are transferable. Don't assume that this new team, this new company has all of these systems and processes in place already, because you really take for granted what you know, and you'll bring a lot of value to this new job. And she was right. So I really think that adopting a mindset that centers on the value you will bring to a new job or industry, and really changing the perspective when you speak to a hiring manager or speak to someone in the industry about how you will help solve the problems their business is facing, because you have a great resume that again is very decorated, but they need to know how that is going to help them. That could help you stay grounded when big changes are on the horizon.
Yeah, that's wonderful advice. Thank you for sharing. I love that quote. I hope someone wrote it down and put it in the chat, because that's a keeper for sure. Once you've made that shift, right? We're grounded in this transition. We're confident with the skill sets that we do bring. We're grounded. We ground ourselves in that. When you step into that new role, as you just pointed to, Katie, there's a lot that we don't know. There's a lot of unknowns. It might be the vocabulary, it might be the culture, it might be a variety of different things. And I'm curious how you've built confidence in a new chapter when you're not the expert in the room, when you're not the expert in the new path that you've chosen. Uh, any advice there, Heidi? I see you nodding. Any advice there to share with everyone today?
I'm back to my learner mindset, right? And there's a couple of points here that I would make. One is having an internal to your organization, and an external from your organization mentor is so key. Going back to the prior conversation or the prior question, and keeping you grounded, that external person is going to be your cheerleader, like Katie was saying, and reminding you of all the things that you do so well, that you're going to continue to do well, all the strengths that you have, and all the expertise and experience you're going to draw from. They knew you before, right? They're going to continue to cheer you on, and remind you of those things. And that you need that, right? And I had one, and it was wonderful. And we weren't meeting that often, but even if you have someone every few months who you can connect with, that is incredibly valuable. And then having a mentor internal to your new organization, I think, is a very honest and vulnerable place to be. And it lets internal colleagues know that you're serious about learning. And it again, I keep talking about this truly learner mindset. It brings you back to the goals of the learning that you are going to continue to make progress on. I mean, I think a lot of folks come to a new opportunity and they build out a 30, 60, 90 plan, which is great, right? That's a formality of taking those steps and formalizing and documenting that learning. That can be for your direct report, or even those reporting to you, and you can make progress on that. But I think additionally, outside of that, the ability to sit back, listen, learn, read, right? We don't often take a lot of time to read and research, unless it's, I think, helped by AI sometimes, but really, truly setting aside time to connect with folks inside of your organization who are the subject matter experts, who have maybe been around for quite some time, or maybe they are newer, right? Just getting all those internal perspectives about what's going right, what could be improved, and how you can help. Taking all of that in. So both of those touch points, internal and external, I think are really important.
I love that. The external person knows who you are when you're thriving and when you are the expert. That's so key along with the internal work. That's wonderful, Heidi. And Sasha, I saw you nodding as well. Would you have anything to add to this?
I promise Heidi and I did not get together on this, but we do have like similar backgrounds. I am a former educator, so an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, and also having humility. Be humble. When you're not an expert, lean into those that are experts. Seek out that mentorship. I've mentioned this multiple times, not only within the organization, but outside of the organization. How can you grow in your profession? How can you become that level of expert where someone is leaning into you now for mentorship? Making sure that you are continuing moving forward, learning as much as you can, leaning in to those who know more than you do, and always being humble, because the reality is we don't know everything and we are building ourselves inch by inch.
Mm-hmm. I love it. It aligns very much with what you guys do at Renaissance, right? It's really leaning into what helps you grow and stay curious and stay engaged, and honestly find more clarity about who you are along the way. I'm sure, right? It all feeds into that. We're going to take a few questions from the audience in just a minute, but I have a final question before that. And Katie, I'd love to hear from you on this. If you could give one piece of advice to someone who feels stuck between chapters, what would that advice be?
Sure. So for those who are currently employed, never wait for your next job to do your best work, because the very best interview for your next job is doing your existing one very, very well. But I think advice overall, my advice is to ask for advice. And that's really always better than asking for feedback. And what that looks like in practice is asking the question, what is the one thing I can do better? So you could ask that if you're to your current boss, to your colleagues, if you are not employed, to a recruiter, to a friend, to a mentor, really asking for what is the one thing I can do better? And that can help you change and become unstuck while you're in between chapters.
Thank you. Thank you. Sasha, do you want to add to that?
Take a chance. Believe in yourself. Lean into those who know you best, just as Katie was mentioning. Keep on ensuring that you are seeking out the best for yourself and for your career path. As someone who was in the classroom, who's now in a completely different type of role, but still in the same industry, lean into the things that you do know and lean into the people that know you best.
Yeah. There's a comment in the chat that I will turn into a question, and I think I'd love, Katie, your thoughts on this one. Audra says, I'm hearing a lot from my professional friends with 20 and up careers experience, going through ageism when looking for jobs or career changes. Also, many places say they support work-life balance, but once they are there, they do not. Has anyone else noticed this? That's the comment in the chat, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Katie, and anyone else who has some thoughts there. But I think the question that comes from this is, and I think to you, Katie, because you said earlier that you found you were in an organization that didn't align with your values. Is a career pivot always the path forward, or do you have tips or ideas or thoughts on how do you advocate for what you need internally when an organization is not providing that for you, given the structure that it provides? Or any other thoughts on this comment from Audra?
Sure. The career pivot for me, it really was a tipping point. There were certainly other factors. While I enjoyed my employer, it was 20 years and I was at an inflection point, right? I'd worked for 20. I was probably going to work for 20 more. And did I really want to keep doing the same thing for 20 more years? No. So it really, yes, my values being violated was certainly part of it. Could I have sought a different path within that organization? I think so, yes. I think the ageism thing is really tough, and I don't necessarily have an answer. I go back perhaps to my previous comment around really changing the perspective on how you can bring value to a company, not how valuable you are, because that's very, very different. But find out what their problems are, where they're trying to grow, what they're trying to do as a company, what issues they're facing, what competitive threats, and how your skills and what you have can help solve those problems and drive their business forward. So they're not thinking about your age, and not that they're not thinking about your resume, but really make sure that you are pivoting to address their problems, not how great you are. So I don't have a solid answer, but those are my thoughts on it at this time.
Yeah, thank you. I think that there's no clear answer to ageism. It's a problem that comes up so often in different forms, and yeah, I don't know. Does anyone else have any thoughts there or words of encouragement? Yes, Heidi.
I think the only other thing I would add is I always feel as though a conversation about solving a problem is richer when we have a diverse set of voices trying to solve the problem. And so if the company has public facing statements or value statements about their mission, their vision, pushing into and echoing back that statement or that phrase or that value to the folks you're interviewing with, to the HR contacts, to align with it, and also politely reminding, right, that though maybe you have some different demographic attributes than maybe the majority of their workforce, that should be considered a positive input of those diverse voices to be able to look at problems from all sides, right? And make sure that whatever is the potential solution that's being entertained, that it stands the test for everybody, right? And when we say all, we really mean all.
That's a wonderful reminder. And that, yes, the interview process and the job search is a great time to really have those authentic and real conversations with the folks you're talking to, and really be as informed as you can before joining an organization. Yeah. And that leads into the next question, which is, what does authenticity look like in your current chapter? Heidi, you point to the beautiful drawings behind you made by your kids. How, especially when you think during those transitions and in the chapter that you're in now, how does authenticity help you stay grounded and aligned with the values that you have? Any
Is that a
thoughts
question
there?
for Heidi, Eloise?
It's for anyone. It's for anyone. Yeah.
I'll go. Since I'm off mute. One thing I actually heard this on a podcast, but in this day and age, one thing about being authentic is not using word for word what you get from generative AI. So I think we can all see right through that when we receive an email or some kind of communication that is not that everything needs to be from the heart, right? We're not all writing novels, but I think it is really important for it to be in your voice and to not be generated from AI, and to just make sure that it comes from a place where you mean it, and it is not so stripped down from what is required by corporate that it doesn't mean anything to your audience. So I think being authentic, and just in this day and age, make sure to use AI in a way that still uses your creativity and your thought and your voice.
Nice. That's a good reminder. It's so easy to go to ChatGPT or Claude or whatever it is and have them write that follow-up letter or email, right?
Yes, but it
Yeah.
really, we're all smart, and it's very obvious when that's where it comes from.
Of course,
So,
of course. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on authenticity and how to show up authentically and advocate for the things that you need, Sasha?
Be true to yourself, always.
Mm,
I'm authentically me in every way, shape, or form. And it's important to know who you are, know your values, know what you stand for, and what you won't stand for.
mm,
I think it's really important to just really make sure that you're being true to yourself, that you're following your path, your purpose, and finding industries and companies that align specifically with those that are important to you.
mm.
Hence why I'm still in education.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, nice. Heidi?
I was just gonna add, while Sasha was mentioning that, it reminded me that it's important for all of us everywhere we are right now, whether you're working or not working, whether you're in a job you love or one you're looking to leave, to make space for everyone else to show up authentically.
Mm,
So if I show up authentically and everyone around me is not open to my authenticity, well, that makes it really, really challenging to do that, right?
mhm.
But if
Yeah.
we are all advocates for being our authentic selves and being able to be vulnerable and to have a learner mindset and to continue to grow and to not be perfect, right? All of these things, and let colleagues know I got your back, right? When something doesn't go the way that it was planned, and things happen, and to be able to um, be advocates for each other in all the ways that requires helps us all be authentic where we're
Mm,
working, whether we're going to leave tomorrow or whether we're going to stay 10 years, wherever you are, being able to be a champion for that is really important.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, and it draws people to you, right? That clear, authentic approach signals confidence and leadership, and that's not only in the roles that you're in, but it's also going back to today's theme, right? In that during that pivot, during that change, during that search, in those conversations where you're going in and you're networking and you're talking to people, showing up with that authenticity, having the courage to truly be authentic in those moments really actually helps you shine at the end of the day, rather than trying to conform to what you think you should be or you should sound in that pivot, which I think is such an important piece. And it brings you back to the beginning of our conversation about that self knowledge and understanding of what your values are, and having the courage to bring that into all of these conversations during a pivot and in that new role or new direction is such a powerful thing to do uh, as you're moving forward in your career. We have a few more questions before we wrap up today. Um, and at Fairy God Boss, we've observed that women just often don't feel comfortable bragging or taking ownership of all of the amazing things that they've achieved. And so we have a tradition of asking every single panelist the following question, which is: would you share with us an accomplishment? Would you brag, personal or professional, that you are just really proud of today as you look back at your career, however close or far away that accomplishment was? Uh, Sasha, can we start with you?
It's really hard to brag about myself. In fact, I had to write a whole paper on it because of this accomplishment. I helped bring a $1.8 million grant to my school, as I had mentioned earlier, and was the first cohort for Verizon Innovative Learning Schools to bring one-to-one devices to every single student at 5 schools in Broward County. We were closing the digital divide. And I earned the accomplishment of being teacher of the year at McNichol Middle School. I saw somebody's here from McNichol Middle School. So, hey, Ms. Gannon.
Yes.
And, um, you had to write a whole, paper onto why you deserve to be teacher of the year for the district. I work for Broward County Public Schools, the 6th largest district in the nation, and I was a semifinalist. So I'm quite proud of my accomplishment, and I'm glad that the cohort has expanded, and there are over 20 schools now in Broward County that are part of VILS.
Wow, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for that brag. That's so awesome. And the impact that it had after you left, right? Those huge accomplishments are not just yours, that you share them with everyone else, which is just so, so, so impactful. Congrats. I love that. Thank you,
Thank
Sasha. Heidi, how about you?
you. When I arrived at Renaissance 7 years ago, um, we had a suite of assessments, and we were looking to build a new style of assessment. Um, it doesn't matter the details. I don't want to get bogged down because, right, we all know our own things, and sometimes we get too far down that rabbit hole. But suffice it to say, we defined that new assessment. We worked with, I mean, 100 wonderful, amazing people to bring this assessment to life, to launch it, to go from nothing to a full product. We had a year-long field test with students from all across the nation and met all of our data goals and launched the product the following year. And then we went on to launch a Spanish authentic version, authentic to language version of that product. And we continue to build on that product today. And it's just been an incredible success story. That product is now on over 30 state approval lists nationwide, and we've administered over 35 million assessments since
Wow.
2020 across the nation. And I can't help but glow talking about it. It just was an incredible achievement by so many, and I was lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time to lead that effort.
That's amazing. That's amazing. What impact? Huge, huge impact. Yeah, yeah. Wonderful. Congrats. And Katie, last but not least.
Sure. Thanks, Eloise. So, a bit of a different take on this one. What I'm really proud of in recent memory is that I received a thank you card from a colleague that articulated how I had positively impacted her career and her life and our team. And it was really, really meaningful to me. And where I could have sales awards and certificates and that stuff on my dresser, I actually have this card. And I revisit it when I am feeling doubtful. It was very meaningful to me, and I even read it to my family in an attempt to make them more grateful for me, which definitely failed. But I'm just really proud of having that impact on a person and on a team and on the company. It was really meaningful.
That's huge, and a testament to the kind of leader that you are, given that that person felt compelled to share that with you and to thank you. That's just incredibly meaningful, as you said. Yeah, yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Katie. Thank you all. Lots of things to celebrate and to brag about. I hope that you keep bragging to your families and it'll seep in, Katie. It'll seep in over time.
We'll see.
Little nuggets. Yeah, yeah. Nice. We love to end these events with a little lightning round. Uh, and take your time with this to really be thoughtful and share really what comes to mind here for you. Uh, we'd love to hear from each of you what advice you would give to your younger self. Sasha, let's start with you.
I feel like it's been consistent throughout my life to never give up. I'm a child of immigrants, and I'm quite proud of that. I am a Spanish speaker. That was my first language. I grew up in Miami, Florida, where I was the majority and not the minority. And my mom does not speak English. She is an American citizen, but she does not speak English. And I feel that at minimum, my younger self, I would say to be more proud of your culture, of who you are. And that the fact that I was bilingual opened up so many doors in my professional career to stay authentically me, to be proud of being una Latina, and to always shine with a little bit of spice and a little bit of sass.
I love that. I'm going to take that one and put it in my pocket. Heidi, how about you?
I just feel so blessed. Things have unfolded in a way that um, feels very serendipitous, feels very guided. And so I think the only thing I would say to do differently maybe is to just worry less and
Mm,
trust more.
mm,
I feel like I asked for more, I got more. I was in the right places at the right time. I'm not saying that's all me, right? There's a guidance element certainly to all of this, but just trusting that it's going to work out, and don't don't carry the anxiety with you. Don't lose the minutes of sleep worrying. Um, it'll be there.
Mm, mm. Super powerful. Thank you, Heidi. How about you, Katie?
Sure. So my advice is to wear more sunscreen. It's not a joke. You can never wear too much. No. So really, I would tell myself that yes, it is important to invest in your education, in training, in professional development. And it's equally as important to invest in your network and in people, because it truly is who you know that will propel mobility across companies, across industries, and really your promotability within your existing organization. Career really is not a ladder, it's more of a jungle gym. And as you move up it and across it, it's the people who you have built trusted relationships with that is really going to make the difference, especially as a woman, because historically men have been much better at this.
Mm.
Early in my career, I over-indexed on the education and certifications, and I was not as deliberate about investing in my network, and that was a mistake. So my advice to my younger self, getting in the time machine, is to really do just that, to take the time to connect with people, to get their advice, to sign up for that cheesy networking event, join a mentorship program, and really build those relationships so you can broaden your reach and have the biggest jungle gym in the playground.
I love it. Build it, and use it, right? Yes. Fantastic. What wonderful advice. And I am drawn to the chat right now. Liz says, what resonates with me is that each of these women are so proud of their impact upon others. That says a lot about them. Audra says, Sasha, thank you for your encouragement. Do never give up. You're an inspiration. We're lucky to have you on our team. Learning to fully embrace my spice and sass over here. Thanks, Sasha. I mean, the comments just keep going. Such a testament to the quality of the insights that you've all shared today. So thank you. And thank you to all of you who have tuned in and asked these questions and engaged. Super, super meaningful to be in conversation with everyone who is here today. As a reminder, we will be sharing out the recording for today's event, along with the resources to learn more about opportunities at Renaissance. I mean, and working with these fabulous women who we just had the pleasure of spending an hour with. So be sure to check those out. And in the meantime, you can look at Renaissance's profile and jobs on Fairygodboss. So take a look there. You can learn more about the organization there and about open roles there. We'd love to hear your feedback today so that we can improve on future events. So please head to the Typeform tab and share your thoughts in that 1-minute survey. The thank yous keep coming in. Katie, Heidi, and Sasha, I hope you're seeing the chat blow up right now. There's a lot of love there and a lot of appreciation for the time that you spent with us and the knowledge that you shared. So thank you again so much. Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next time.